Hello, hello. My name is Ashlee, and welcome to my channel. This is the first time I've been live in a while, so I'm very excited. It has been I feel like a very long, holiday time for me. There was a lot of travel, and so I was really tired, but I'm excited to be live again. I was a little nervous because wow, I haven't done this in a while, but I'm very excited. Hello. And so today, of course, it is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and I'm very excited to talk about Martin Luther King Jr. I am very excited to talk about the whitewashing of his message that has happened. And yeah, but before we get into that, please like and subscribe and turn on post notifications and all the things. I've decided that I'm going to start going live on Mondays now instead of Sundays. I keep changing things, so I apologize. And Mondays are going to kind of be more of like a live podcast type thing where we talk about current issues, but them like in context with history. I feel like that would be fun because it's really hard to keep up with everything that's going on. So I thought that would be a fun thing to do that. And then Wednesday we'll do videos. And this Wednesday we are going to be talking about Anna Kasparian again, which I haven't talked about in a while. But apparently she's admitted that she was wrong for all of her recent I don't know if it's all of her recent rightward shift, but it's like a chunk of it. So I'm excited to get into that. That'll be Wednesday's video. But today we are going to be talking about MLK Day. And this live stemmed from me having this argument with my parents over the holidays. And it was, it was like the day after Christmas. And I don't know how we got on Martin Luther King, but we did. And I was getting very frustrated, as I do every year around this time, because conservatives tend to take Martin Luther King's quotes or his, like that one "I have a dream" speech and that one line, and they tend to use that. They tend to weaponize it and use it against people on the left. And I get very frustrated when that happens because conservatives and just like liberals in general have seriously whitewashed his legacy and have they have whitewashed everything he has ever stood for. He was a socialist, and he was not very popular back then. Everyone seems to think that he was, but he wasn't. And so I just want to talk about that today, because when I was talking with my parents, they were like, "Oh no, he was like, everyone loved him. It was great." And I was like, if it's like, if half the people that were alive today were alive back then, they would be saying the same things. They literally would be saying the same things about him as they are about all the other protesters that are out there right now. And so, come on. So we're going to talk about that today because I really wanted to talk about that. And yeah, so let's get into it. First, I want to talk about how Donald Trump is actually, I think he wants to get rid of Martin Luther King Day, but he's done a lot of different things and he said a lot of different things. One of them being that the civil rights movement has made it harder for white people, which is psychotic. So we're gonna watch that right now. Oh, whoops, that was me making my thumbnail. Sorry about that. Okay. So this is Don Lemon, which also, Don Lemon, I think the DOJ is trying to indict him, which is insane. There's so much going on. And it's all crazy. But let's listen to what Don Lemon has to say about this, because yeah, Trump said that civil rights led to white people being very badly treated. Okay.
Here's the breaking news into the Don Lemon Show newsroom. More proof that Donald Trump and this administration are just racist. The President of the United States, in an interview, said that he believed that civil rights era protections resulted in white people being very badly treated. That is his strongest indication that the concept of reverse discrimination is driving his aggressive crusade against diversity policies. He said this to the New York Times in an interview on Wednesday, and he echoed grievances amplified by the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, and other top officials who in recent weeks have urged white men to file federal complaints with the Equal Opportunity Commission.
Oh no, that's not good. That's not good. Here we go. Like, we're getting into very dangerous territory here lately. Not that we haven't always been in dangerous territory, but I feel like, and I was thinking about this, but I feel like for a while now, Trump, especially with like Epstein and how unpopular he is, it's been funny to like laugh at him or be like, wow, they're so incompetent. Everyone in his, RFK is so goofy. Like, everyone in his cabinet is so goofy and incompetent. Kristi Noem likes to play dress up. Like, we like to laugh at these things, but but things are getting very serious very quickly, and it's because the midterms are coming up. And so I do think asking white men to file complaints is not good, because this is kind of, if I'm remembering correctly, this is kind of what they did with student loan forgiveness, is they were going to give away student loan forgiveness, and then Missouri AG, filed like a complaint saying it wasn't fair to certain students, or it wasn't fair to MOHELA, which is like, they handled some of the student loan payments anyway, and so they were saying it wasn't fair to this company that they weren't going to get their money back, and they were suing the government, and MOHELA didn't even want to do this. They didn't even want to do this lawsuit, but the Missouri AG did the lawsuit anyway, and I think they reached out. I think there was also another one where they reached out to some students to try to get it overturned. And so this is something that they do quite often, Trump and the conservatives, is they'll make something out of nothing, so this problem that does not exist, but they'll have people complain to the courts, or they'll have people do a lawsuit, and that's how they get it to the courts. And so it's actually really scary that this is what they're asking people to do. I don't like that. That makes me nervous.
Now get this, okay? When asked whether protections that began in the 1960s, spurred by the passage of the Civil Rights Act, had resulted in discrimination against white men, Mr. Trump said he believed a lot of people, this is a quote from him, a lot of people were very badly treated. Another quote, white people were very badly treated, where they did extremely well and they were not invited to go into university, to college. He said
he should go back to college the way he's talking anyway.
An apparent reference to,
I'm talking about Donald Trump. Donald Trump's grammar is like, it's like a 5-year-old. Okay, he says like even saying white people were very badly treated. Like, who talks like that?
Affirmative action in college admissions. So I would say, his quote again, in that way, I think it was unfair in certain cases.
Okay. Yeah, and something that, hello. Okay, and something that I wanted to say is that, and a lot of people are talking about it right now, but everyone, a lot of liberals, a lot of people who are like, boomers are out there protesting, which I'm very happy about. I love seeing boomers out there protesting. There's a lot of them, and some of them are like funny. There was this one guy that was like, not enough, couldn't make it into the military. This was about ICE. They were protesting ICE. Couldn't make it, not strong enough for the military, not enough training for police, so you have to be ICE or something. It was supposed to be like a dig. And it's funny, right? I get it. But it's also like, okay. Is ICE really that different from all these other factions of the government, But to them, that was like a dig. That was like a burn. And so while I appreciate stuff like that, I feel like a lot of older people, like a lot of, not, anyway, you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Like, more liberals tend to be like, oh, we're becoming Nazi Germany. We're becoming this. We're becoming that. But in Nazi Germany, they actually got a lot of their ideas and a lot of inspiration from the Jim Crow laws here in America. And so I think that's something that we don't talk about enough. And so, especially when our government right now is being explicitly white nationalist and explicitly trying to basically do an ethnic cleansing in broad daylight, it's important to remember that, like, America has been like this. And our institutions have upheld this kind of inequality over time. And Martin Luther King Jr. was one of the people who were trying to dismantle that, and who actually understood that it was a capitalist system that got us all these inequalities. And so when conservatives want to come out and be like, oh, MLK was a Republican, like his niece likes to do, and we're gonna watch an old segment of Laura Ingraham talking about it. But this is what a lot of conservatives like to do, is they look at Martin Luther King Jr. and they whitewash him to the point where they don't want you to learn how radical he actually was. When I talked to my parents, I was like, no, he was a radical. They're like, no, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. Yes, he was. And I even asked, I said, why do you think they killed him? Why would they want to kill him if he wasn't a radical? Like, they killed so many civil rights leaders. They killed, like, and I was like, they killed Fred Hampton, like, in his sleep. He, like, and they didn't even know who he was. And so that's the part of this, and that is what conservatives want. They don't want you to know about the civil rights movement, because it was though I feel like we have so much more to go. A lot of people are like, oh, the civil rights movement happened, so now everything's fine. That's not true. But even though I do think it was largely successful, that's why they don't want people learning the actual history of it. Because if you learn the actual history of the civil rights movement, and how, like, the Black Panthers organized themselves, or how anti-capitalist Martin Luther King Jr. was, or even learning anything about Malcolm X or Fred Hampton. Like, conservatives don't want you to learn that. They don't want people to learn that, because if you did actually learn and actually had to hear what they were saying, their anti-capitalist and most times socialist message, they fear that people would, I think that they fear that it would resonate with people too much. And because I feel like we're living in a similar, we're going to live in a similar time frame where there's going to be unrest and things are going to get serious. And so I feel like they don't want to teach people the real history of America and the civil rights movement, because too many people would resonate with it, and too many people would understand just how radical I think people need to be able to go against the imperialist propaganda that we get taught growing up in America. Anyway, so so next thing we're gonna watch is Laura Ingraham. We're gonna watch Laura Ingraham, and apparently, okay, so I think I knew this, but not fully. So Martin Luther King Jr.'s niece, apparently, her whole thing is like, oh, Martin Luther King Jr. would be a Republican now. And there's a lot of Republicans who say that, because they're like, oh, well, he didn't see race. That is not what he was saying in his speech whatsoever. Not at all, actually. But a lot of conservatives, a lot of people, even some liberals, like to use that as like, oh, I don't see race. And neither did Martin Luther King Jr., so you should stop worrying about systematic racism. And so his niece apparently always goes out this time of year and likes to say he would have been a Republican, because you can find someone to just say anything in this in this world. Or all the strikes that happened during the civil rights era. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think, like, if you, gosh, I think I did a video about this, but Judas and the Messiah, it's a wonderful movie, wonderful, and it is, it's about, like, the Black Panthers and Fred Hampton, and it is a really great movie, and I think it really shows you the importance of coming together and having community, and how organizing within your community can actually like help so much, because Fred Hampton and the Black Panthers, they were organizing in their communities so that way kids wouldn't go hungry. They were organizing their community so that way they were safe from police officers. And actually now there are a lot of Black Panthers at ICE protests, and they're out there trying to protect people from ICE, and so, which I'm glad. I'm sure chapters of Black Panthers have always been around and have always been there, but like the resurgence of that actually gives me a lot of hope, because if you look back at the civil rights movement, the Black Panthers was wildly successful, and they had chapters in a lot of different places, and I feel like they were wildly successful, but that's why the FBI and the government went after them and killed a lot of the leaders, because they were successful and they were working with other groups that were trying to gain rights, trying to trying to go against this capitalist system. Anyway, all right, so okay. Conservatives read MLK speeches like they read the Bible very selectively, 100%, and it makes me so mad. I was getting so angry at my parents, and they're like, maybe that's a problem that you get so angry, and I'm like, no, I get so angry because this man fought his whole life for a message that you are butchering. He gave his life for a message that you are butchering, and it pisses me off. But anyway, so this was 6 years ago. Okay, so this was during 2020. And this is what Laura Ingraham, this is when they were still trying to acknowledge, like, they like MLK. I think people like Tucker Carlson, a lot of other, like, PragerU and, like, other conservative outlets have stopped pretending like they actually like MLK. My parents, they still pretend. They're like, no, we like him, of course. Like, and of course we would have liked him back then. And I'm like, okay, sure. Right, likely story. But so this was still back when they were pretending like they like him. Now they're like, well, let's just get rid of MLK Day. Oh, the other thing I was going to show is that Donald Trump actually, he's getting rid of free park days on MLK Day, and so apparently you can get into national parks for free on MLK Day, and I did not know that. But he replaced it with his own birthday. Donald Trump did, and so of course here's Gavin Newsom saying that that's not what they're going to do. They're going to do something different. Still F Gavin Newsom. I hate him. I hate him. but that's what they're doing. So at least that's a good thing, I guess. I still hate Gavin Newsom. But anyway, so now Republicans have, of course, gone mask off because they're doing a full-fledged white nationalist ethno-state propaganda right now, and we're gonna watch. There's a video I have from PBS that I want to watch that's on that. But first, let's take a stroll down memory lane of when they tried to act like MLK was a Republican or would be on their side in any of this. So this is what Laura Ingraham said. She said, would MLK admire modern Dems living in a constant state of protest? my guess is that Laura Ingraham is going to say no, even though what is Martin Luther King Jr. known for? The marches and his protests. But would he approve of all the protests happening all the time? I don't know. These Dems, they just want to protest. Oh my God. It pisses me off because it's like, would MLK approve of these protests? Yeah, he probably would. Why are we having this conversation right now? Like, this is what he's known for. This is why are we having this conversation? Anyway, this is why it makes me mad, because this is a dumb question. Okay.
Already seen a black president. We've already seen a black first family. Now we want to know what it is going to mean. Symbolism is not enough now. It's substance.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if there's no substance, then we've gotten over the aura of the first.
Now, those comments, along with others at the National Action Network, were dripping with kind of grievance. They led me to pose this question yesterday. Today is the anniversary of the assassination of the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. I was thinking, like, if he were alive today, I wonder what he'd think about such dismissive comments.
This makes me so mad. First of all, it makes me so mad because F her. Because F her trying to be like, oh my gosh, I wonder what he would think. I wonder what he would think. First of all, yeah, no, I'm happy that, listen. My feelings about Obama are very mixed, okay? I don't think he was horrible, but I also don't think he was wonderful. Do I think that there were things he could have done better, especially when it comes to foreign policy? Yes. Yes, I do. Do I have issues with how he handled foreign policy? Yes. Yes, I do. But am I happy that there was some type of representation within the White House, within the government? Yes. Am I happy he made history? Yes. The funny part is like, I feel like conservatives have been on this tear or have been angry ever since Obama got elected. And because there was a black president, now that's why they had to swing the pendulum all the way to the right and elect Trump, which is exactly, it was like a backlash because they were mad that there was a black president. And so it's rich coming from her. But what he was saying was that, yes, representation is great, and that is great, but representation without tangible action, without tangible results, without reparations, without something that is actually meaningful, then yeah, it's nice, but I mean, but it's not changing anything systematically, is what he was trying to say. And so it's so rich for her to be like, oh man, I wonder what he would think. And they always pull that out. They're like, man, I wonder what MLK would think. And it's like, I don't know, man, he would probably hate you and think you're a piece of shit. Like, why are we talking? What are you saying? Okay.
And about a Democrat Party that believes it can regain power by living in a constant state of protest or racial hatred and denial.
Oh my God, this is what I hate. This is what makes me so mad. Like, my blood is actually boiling right now. Because I grew up hearing this all of the time. I grew up hearing these arguments, and it just like, drives me insane. Okay.
Now, for highlighting how the manufactured outrage by some of the social justice warriors is creating racial division and hatred.
What was Martin Luther King Jr. if not a social justice warrior? And I don't mean in like the liberal, like online sense. I mean like actually someone who fought and gave his life for social justice, for progress. Like, I think that's what what bothers me so much about all of this, and that's what bothers me so much about every single year having to listen to them use the same thing over and over and over again, that it's actually the left that's racist, because we don't think that, like, because I don't think, people can be racist against white people, and it's like, no, it's actually the left. Like, you're racist because you think that. I remember talking to someone, they're like, well, like, like, it's just, it's just, I feel like people look down on me because I'm like, because I'm like a white man or whatever. Like, what? Like, isn't it crazy that that's like the only thing you have to think about? You don't have to think about like systematic oppression or like gay people. You don't have to be worried that like you might not be able to get married next year. Like, you're not worried about your rights being taken away. You're not worried about anything tangible around you. You're worried about some random person looking at you crazy, which I'm sure people who are queer or who are black, who are brown, who are different religions get looked at like that all the time or get treated like that all the time. And it's like, that's your one grievance, where everybody else is worried about their rights taking away. They're worried about being killed. They're worried about being killed by ICE, by police officers, and you're like, man, this person looked at me weird. It's like how privileged are you that that's what you're worried about and you're not worried about all the other things that I just stated. Anyway, I went off on a tangent because I was mad. Here we go.
Was attacked. I was just asking a question. Well, kind of in the response to proving my point, aren't they? They're not interested in a real conversation about improving the lives of real people, the state of the economy for African Americans in this country, talking about criminal justice reform, school choice, all the things that conservatives love, the life issue. Instead,
well, do you know what happened? Actually, something just happened here in Missouri. Let me talk about it. So something just happened here in Missouri where our state decided that they were going to deaccredit. Basically, St. Louis public schools are no longer accredited. What do you think happens then? Like, we have a Republican, we have a conservative majority in Missouri, right? In our state. And what do you think happens when public schools are not accredited? Do you think that is helpful for communities? Do you think that is helpful for people? What do you think that does? It's truly frustrating on so many levels when they're like, no, we want school choice, we want this, we want that. No, you don't. You want to put people in a perpetual state of I want to say oppression, but just in a perpetual state of stress, where they constantly have to be worried about what's around the corner, when they constantly have to be worried about the school debt that they have, where they constantly have to be worried about all these things in their lives so that they cannot, not move up the ladder, but live the American dream that conservatives are always saying that we should have in this country. But the problem is conservatives vote for things like not accrediting public schools. I'm not even joking to you. This happened like last week. St. Louis public schools are no longer accredited. So what are people supposed to do? I'm pretty sure the school I went to was a public school. I can't, I think I might have, I don't know if it was a charter school or if it was public school. I think it was public school, St. Louis public school. Anyway, because it was not really accredited when I first started going there. It didn't get accredited until like my junior year of high school. And so this is not new to St. Louis, but it's really frustrating when conservatives say shit like this, because they're like, we care about the people, and it's like, no, you don't, because you vote for shit like this, and then what are kids supposed to do if your high school, if you go to a high school that's not accredited? How are you supposed to get into college? You want people to make better decisions. You say anybody can do whatever, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. How are you supposed to do that if the state literally said that the highest school that you went to means nothing, that you have no credits? How are you supposed to do that? Like, it's infuriating. It's infuriating. Sorry, that just reminded me of it, and I had to talk about that because it's been on my mind the past few days. All right.
Attempt to demonize anyone who rejects divisive, negative way of thinking. Well, they want to shut down speech.
Oh, and you know what? This was probably during the critical race theory era, too. I remember that era. I remember I was graduating college. I was graduating college, and I got in a fight with my family about that because I asked them, I said, what does that mean? I was like, what does that mean? Tell me what critical race theory means. And they couldn't answer me.
They don't believe in open dialogue. Joining me now is a woman who does, Alveda King, niece of Martin Luther King Jr. Alveda has the type of stuff you're seeing from Jesse Jackson and all the Democrats, one after the other, kind of bowing down to his identity over the last few days. I just raised the question because it's so negative. It's like even Obama's presidency was kind of dismissed by Al Sharpton saying, yeah, he did some good things, but now it's on to the real work.
Isn't that amazing that Al Sharpton would say that? He forgets many things quickly.
What is wrong about that? That's not wrong. That's not wrong. That's not wrong.
I think he forgot that Martin Luther King Jr. was a prophet. I think Jesse Jackson forgot that too. And in the spirit of Jesus Christ, it sounds like socialism, I guess, to say feed the poor and take care of the hungry. But that's the perspective of Martin Luther King in a prophetic voice.
So you just, okay. So you just said it though. You said it sounds socialist. But that's what he said. Yeah, because he was a socialist. Okay? Because he was a socialist, and I'm sick and tired of people trying to act like he wasn't. He was a socialist. He was a socialist. He was not a Republican. He was not some white. He was not some moderate liberal. Okay? He was a socialist. And he was very radical. And I'm tired of people talking. Because, like, see, to me, when people whitewash his message, like, you know, because I feel like people take radical as this, like, bad thing. When I say radical on, like, the, like on the left sense, but, like, when I say radical, I mean it in a good way. I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean it in a good way. And so when people try to be like, oh, he wasn't that radical, or he, you know, they try to make him seem like some moderate liberal, it pisses me off because he wasn't. And I've even had conversations with people, because I used to think like this. It was like, oh, well, I like Malcolm X better because he was more radical. But Martin Luther King was almost just as radical. We have just whitewashed his message and his legacy to the point of having that, that instead of like seeing how they work together or seeing like why they were both important in their different ways, it's simplified down to, well, you know, Malcolm X was radical, Martin Luther King Jr. was not, which is not true. Again, anyway, I'm still on my tangents.
Not a political voice.
Yeah, so some of
he was a political voice. What are you saying? What are you saying? I hope... This is going to sound really bad, but her whole family has to have alienated her, right? Like, her whole family has to have, like, been like, we no longer associate with you. They have to, right? Because, well, I mean, at least his daughter, because his daughter is amazing, but come on, man. No, everything he did was political. No, he was political. He was political. What are we saying? What?
Relatives, you guys were tweeting back at each other, inter-family conversations
Yes,
about this.
because you're a sellout. Because you're a sellout. You're using a revolutionary name to go on Fox News. What? To do propaganda for fascists.
But you never know what anyone would think. You know, it would be fun to think what Thomas Jefferson would think. What would? But it is.
No, I don't care. I don't give a shit what Thomas Jefferson would think.
I was watching a lot of his speeches before the show and going back and watching.
Were you?
And he was sounding more favorable to socialism and socialist ideals. I want to read.
Yes, because he was a socialist. Yes, because he was a socialist. As much as you guys have tried to make it seem like he wasn't, more and more conservatives, like I said, nowadays are acknowledging. Now that we're going full white nationalist, just mask off in America, more conservatives are acknowledging that he was a socialist, and are like denouncing him now. But they're like, wow, a lot of what he said was kind of socialist, but yeah, because he was a socialist. Yeah, and his niece saying, oh, well, he was saying it from God because that's what God says. Yeah, because Jesus was also a socialist. You guys seem to just, like, you can't even understand the own things you're saying. You don't even, like, like, this is your doctrine. This is your religion. I don't believe in this shit. But you're like, oh, it sounds socialist, but it's not. It is. Yes, it is.
Read part of one of his speeches. I think we have the full screen. When he talked about socialism. This was a description of him, but Dr. King was anti-war, anti-capitalism, and pro-socialism. He saw capitalism as exploitative by nature, an economic structure that bred poverty and injustice. He spoke of his desire to fundamentally change society several times into a democratic form of socialism, which the workers collectively own and direct profit from the businesses in which they work. He saw capitalism as a method of organization that produced an extremely wealthy upper class, but left huge numbers in dire poverty. And that was Garrett Griffin's book. But the actual speeches from King, where he discussed the need to fundamentally restructure the economic system in the United States. So maybe, the push towards socialism kind of is in the tradition of King?
Well, but not exactly socialism, because in restructuring that system, he would want to see African Americans today own land, own property, work, contribute to society. So he would not necessarily have supported just handouts without handouts.
I was wondering how she was gonna like square this, because I'm like, I don't know, man, the way you're talking, it sounds you're not really backing up your point. You're like, no, it sounds like socialism, but it's not really. And then she says the magic word, handouts. That's how you know. That's how you know what she's trying to do. She says the dog whistle, handouts. That he wants all that, he just doesn't want it handed out. See, here's the thing. You have severely, probably on purpose, misconstrued everything that man has said. like the whole run up to that question was he thinks that capitalism is an unfair economic system that makes the people at the top wealthier than the people who are doing the labor, who are gaining the money, the profit for the people at the top. And she said, well, he wouldn't want them to have handouts. He literally says, like the whole part about capitalism being an inequitable system is that the people at the top exploit the labor of the people at the bottom. And so it's not a handout. It's not a handout when we make the system more equitable for the people who are not in the 1%. Okay, it's pissing me off. But that's how you know. I was wondering how she was gonna square that with what she was saying, and that's the dog whistle was a handout. God, she should feel ashamed of herself. I'm sorry. She should be ashamed.
Up and equipping people to fish forever rather than having to fish for a day. So that's why I say that socialism was more mindful of Christ rather than a political structure or system. But as far as perpetual protest, he was sowing hope, seeds of hope. One day this will end and we'll all have something together. That's the Martin Luther King Jr. that I actually know.
And also working with people.
Okay. So do you... Oh my god, I can't watch any more of this. I can't. I'm gonna lose my mind. I can't watch any more of this. Okay. Okay, I can't watch any more of this. So she's like, no. And this is the other part. And I was talking about this, but this is one of the parts of like his legacy being whitewashed that frustrates me the most. Is when they were like, when she was like, oh, he wouldn't want the perpetual protest, that he was sowing seeds of hope that one day we would just all be together and meld together and everything would be fine. And it's like now when they talk about ICE or they talk about Donald Trump or whatever, they're like, why can't we all just get along? Why can't we all just get along? I don't know, man. Maybe because there's a militarized police force outside killing citizens, killing random people, killing protesters. I don't know. Maybe that's why we can't just get along. Because some people are excusing those actions. Some people are excusing people being killed on the streets by militarized police forces, by ICE, and when people are like excusing murder in broad daylight, yeah, sometimes we can't just get along. We can't just get along. And that's what's so frustrating, because it's like, do you think, Mark, because this was 2020, so this was around like George Floyd, do you think that he would have been like, oh, no, we shouldn't protest that, we should just stay at home, what are you talking about? Do you really think that that's how he would respond to that? Like, no, we shouldn't be in perpetual protest. A man just got murdered in the middle of the street, but no, we shouldn't have perpetual protest. Ridiculous. Just so ahistorical and so ridiculous, and it pisses me off. All right. Jesus message. No, yes, Jesus was a socialist. We need both, all approaches simultaneously. You can be radically peaceful. Yes, and I do think that Martin Luther King Jr. was more like, he was more on the like radically peaceful side than Malcolm X. Yes, but you're right. I do think they're both important I think they're both very important, and I think them working together and the Black Panthers was why the civil rights movement was so successful. And so even though I don't think we're definitely not at the outcome of what they were fighting for, what anyone back then fighting for would have wanted, but it was successful in showing that like people can organize and fight against their government. Of course, it probably would have been more successful if the FBI didn't kill all of the leaders of the civil rights movement, but you know. Anyway, the word handout doesn't exist outside the USA. Yeah, and that's the other thing, and I've had to talk to people about this, and like when you put it in terms, sometimes I get a different response, but when you put it in terms of like in Florida, they pay their taxes, right? They pay taxes, but they're constantly trying to pay less taxes. They're constantly trying to get, I don't know, in Missouri, they're trying to get rid of a certain tax, whatever. But like the conservative mindset is always not wanting to pay taxes, trying to pay less taxes, not wanting to pay all these taxes. But in Florida, to go anywhere, you have to pay all these toll roads, right? To go on the highways and all this other kind of stuff. And it can end up being pretty expensive. And they've had these toll roads forever. For as long as I've gone. And so my question is, would you rather pay your taxes and you don't have to pay for a toll road? Or do you want to sit here and have to, you're paying taxes and you're paying for this toll road? So like, I'm not understanding, like, and so to me, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't understand how some conservatives don't get it. Like, paying taxes is good for all of us. It's good for all of us because of roads, because of schools, because of libraries, because of firefighters, because, you know, and I'm not, I don't like police, but police. And so it's like, there's all these things that collectively as a society we need. And if our taxes don't go to it, then what do you think is going to happen? There is going to be a private company that steps in and does it, and they're gonna do it less efficiently. They're gonna do it more in a more expensive way, and then you have to pay all this money to drive down a road when you didn't have to do that. We could have just paid more taxes, or you could have billionaires pay their fair share of taxes. But anyway. Next, we are going to watch. So Donald Trump Jr. Oh God, Jesus fucking Christ, Donald Trump Jr. Not Donald Trump Jr. I'm sorry. Okay, Donald Trump. Now this is, I don't know how long ago this was, but I wanted to watch it because I don't remember. But Donald Trump vowed to keep Martin Luther King's word. Here, let's see. Trump vows to make MLK.
Today is Martin Luther King Day. In his honor, this will be a great honor. But in his honor, we will strive together to make his dream a reality. We will make his dream come true.
Okay, we're gonna watch that in a second. But this is like the bastardization of his "I've had a dream" speech. And basically, they conservatives like to bastardize it and be like, well, I don't see color. And that's the thing. It's like, I'm not racist because I don't see color. But what they don't understand is that I think saying that is also like very racist, because there are things that white people will never have to experience. There are systematic things that white people never have to experience. There are microaggressions that white people will never have to experience. And so to be like, oh, I don't see race is not helpful in any situation. And it doesn't make you not racist, like, at all. And so, but that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to say that they're trying to bastardize it and say, okay, well, white people are actually being racist against white people now, which is what they're saying, which is what they're going with. And so we need to rectify that. That's their bastardization of that quote, is saying, okay, well, Martin Luther King Jr. didn't want people to be racist, and people are being racist against white people, so now we have to rectify that. And it's like, okay, no, because there is no systematic racism against white people. There were no laws against white people living in certain areas or anything like that. And so to sit here and say that like white people are now getting treated just as poorly is white nationalism. And we are going to watch really quick this video on PBS about the government's white nationalist propaganda that's happening right now. And it's scary times because they're coming right out with it. But like I said earlier in the show, Nazi Germany, like the Nazis gained influence from the Jim Crow laws here in America. So this has always been America. America has heavy roots in fascism and in ethnic cleansing and in inequality. And the Nazis literally gained inspiration from America. So this kind of rhetoric or propaganda is not new here. It's just being reused. So it is like Nazi Germany, and that is scary, but it also is what America has been and what people like Martin Luther King Jr. have been fighting to change for so long. So let's watch this. It's actually really scary, some of the stuff that they've been posting. So this is one of them: one homeland, one people, one heritage. Remember who you are, American. And who do you think's included in that American label? Yeah. Okay. So let's watch this. This is PBS.
Just weeks into the new year, the Trump administration has surged ICE agents to American cities, overthrown a foreign head of state, threatened a military takeover of Greenland, and rewritten the history.
He's still doing that right now. Apparently, I haven't been up on the whole Greenland thing as much as I should be, but apparently he wrote this huge truth post the other day about how we're just going to take over Greenland and it's just going to be fine. And the reason he didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize is because he wanted to take over Greenland. Listen, I don't know what the hell is going on, but this man is losing his goddamn mind, okay? He is senile and losing his mind, and this is imperialist nonsense, and we should stop trying to take over other countries because what the hell is the point of this? Also, it's not America first. Anyway.
History of January 6th. As Liz Landers reports, the administration has rolled out a campaign across departments that draws on images and ideas borrowed from right-wing and white nationalist circles.
From the U.S. Department of Labor, a message. One homeland, one people, one heritage. Remember who you are, American. It's a video that appears to be part of a campaign now.
Okay, and then this is that one painting, a heritage to be proud of, a homeland, we're defending American progress, strong gas. And this is like explicitly white nationalist propaganda painting. I forgot what it's called. But it's basically, and I was talking about it not too long ago. I forgot what it's called. But anyway, it's basically like this painting is basically saying like, because they're evangelical Christians, because they have like the correct religion or the correct morality, they are able to take over whoever they want and do whatever they want because God is letting them. This sounds real familiar. Sounds a lot like Israel. But because God is allowing them to do this, and so God is on their side, so they're allowed to just go in and take over whatever country they want. And it's bothering me that I forget what it's called, but yeah, they might say it in a second.
Ramping up to sell the administration's efforts to the American people. For example, calling on potential ICE recruits to, quote, defend the homeland from outsiders while featuring heroic images of white men, often from a bygone era. Then there's this tweet from Friday, an ICE recruitment ad featuring the turn of phrase, "We'll have our home again,"
this is like explicitly white nationalist. This is explicitly like propaganda for ethnic cleansing. This is explicit. And that's why I think this is such a dire time. I haven't watched it yet, but I just saw a video thumbnail for Kyle Kalinske, and it was like, we are doomed. Like, we are doomed, but like we're done. Like we're so done. And I gave in to like the black pilledness a lot last year. I'm gonna try not to do that this year. Because what do we have if we don't have like hope things can get better and we can organize for the better. But it is scary because for so long I feel like conservatives have couched a lot of these same messages in bastardizing, Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech, in trying to whitewash his legacy. They still say that they liked him, but they whitewashed it so it would be palatable for conservatives. Now they're just out here saying, yeah, no, he was a socialist. Yeah, F him. Actually, we don't really like him anymore. He was a socialist, communist, radical, whatever. So they're not doing the dog whistles anymore. They're not trying to couch it anymore. They're not trying to make it palatable to people. What they're doing is they're saying, hey, like, we want it to be a white ethno state. This is what we're aiming for. And if you try to get in our way, we will kill you, and you're just going to have to deal with it. And that's where we are right now. And it is terrifying. It is very terrifying.
Of a man on horseback and a stealth bomber flying in the distance. That's a reference to the song We'll Have Our Home Again, a white supremacist anthem favored by the Proud Boys. Oh my God,
and that's the other thing. A lot of people have been saying, like, you haven't seen the Proud Boys, you haven't seen the Boogaloo Boys, you haven't seen all these people, and that's because they are now ICE. And I think it was Enrique Torres, wasn't he one of the Proud Boys? He's now ICE. Some employee thing leaked, and he is in ICE. And so all of these white nationalist militia groups are now ICE. And so it is like this whole thing of we're trying to protect you, or we're trying to protect our homeland, or we just want to do what's safe for everyone. No, they don't. These are white nationalist militias. These are Proud Boys. These are whoever the hell else who are specifically joining ICE so they can go after people, so they can torment these communities. And I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry at all. I think that these ICE officers, I think, are killing people in cold blood. I think they want to kill people. I think they want to hurt people. I think that's why they joined ICE, because they know that they are not going to, at least they think that they're not going to be held accountable right now, which they're not going to be held accountable right now. Who knows if they'll be held accountable in the future? Who knows? The Democrats would have to actually step up and do their jobs, which they don't seem to be doing. Cory Booker's response to ICE was, put a QR code on them or something to make sure they're a real ICE officer. What does that matter? They're still killing people. Ridiculous. Just ridiculous, dumb shit. But like, they want to kill people. They want to do harm. This is what they want to do. That's why they joined. And so these are the people that are in ICE right now. And I just think that the whole purpose of ICE and the whole purpose of a lot of these white nationalist groups joining ICE because they do want to kill people. When he killed Renee Good, he said effing bitch. And then ever since then, other ICE officers have been like, hey, we just killed that lesbian the other day. Like, didn't you learn your lesson? Didn't you learn your lesson after we killed her? Why are you talking back to me? Didn't you learn your lesson? So they're explicitly saying, hey, we killed her. We'll kill you. What are you going to do about it? You better back off or we'll kill you too. And this is what they want. This is what they want. This is the purpose of ICE.
President's pardoning of more than 1,500 defendants. Weighing in on another era, last week President Trump also sat for a lengthy interview with the New York Times. He was asked about the civil rights movement and told reporters that while the landmark legislation did some good things, he said, quote, it also hurt a lot of people that deserve to go to a college or deserve to get a job were unable to get a job. So it was a reverse discrimination.
Reverse discrimination is not real. That doesn't exist. White people have had the privilege over minority groups. Like, systematically, white people have had privilege in this country way more than any other minorities, just because okay, here. I don't know how to explain this, but I was watching Unlocked on Netflix. It's this show where they have like people in prisons. Of course, it's an American prison, and they unlock the doors so that way people who are in prisons can actually interact with each other throughout the day. And I was yelling at my TV the whole entire time I was watching it because they kept saying, it's this radical program where they're not locked in their rooms all day long for 23 hours a day with only 1 hour of socialization crazy that we're even letting it was. I was getting so mad, but they were like this radical program. And something that I felt like mimicked society as a whole is it was the new season, so it was season 2, where apparently in Arizona, like, and this happens, I don't know much about this, but I know that sometimes there are gangs within prison and it goes by race. And so the one guy, the one white guy who was like the leader of the white guys, I guess, in Unlocked, this is on Netflix. Anyway, he was saying that so they had messed up. They like messed up a couple times and didn't get enough people food and whatever, because basically they were in charge of themselves. The police officers, anything like that, they only came in if there was like a fight or something. Other than that, they had to figure it out themselves. If there was an argument, they had to figure it out themselves. All the food, they had to figure it out themselves. Like this whole program was, they were to be self-sufficient and they were to regulate themselves and to you get what I'm saying. And the leader of the white guy group or whatever was like, well, there's more of us, and so we need to lead. And even if we make problems, that's fine. Or even if we make mistakes or have issues, that's fine. We still need to lead because we're the ones who know how to lead. And I sat there and I was like, if this does not mimic society, I don't know what does. Where this white man who made these mistakes, who didn't get the right amount of food, who whatever, is still sitting there saying, well, I may have made a mistake and whatever, but there's more of us, so I guess we need to be in charge because, well, we're the only ones who know how to be in charge. And I just sat there and I was like, what kind of bullshit is this? I was like, you piece of shit. But all in all, it's a good show. And of course, at the end of it, all of the people who were in prison, they actually gained a lot from it, and they were like, wow, it was nice to not be treated like an animal in a cage every single day, and it makes me want to do better, and it gives me tools for when I get out. And I was like, wow, see, it's not that radical that people wouldn't want to be locked in a cage for 23 hours a day. And when you lock people in a cage and they can't socialize outside of 1 hour a day, maybe that drives people a little mad. I don't know, crazy idea. But yeah, anyway, I was watching that today and it was wild. Anyway, it just reminded me of that because I feel like so many, I went on a total tangent, so I'm sorry, but I feel like that's how like white people think. They're like, well, I naturally, I should be in charge. Why? Like, what do you mean? They're like, well, if white people aren't in charge of this anymore, then that's discrimination. No, it's not. It's just equality. Jesus Christ. Guest on Waj's show. Oh, I love Waj. Surprise, prisoners are human. I know. And all of the guards, I hated the guards. All of the guards were like, I don't know about this. And then there were some guards who would go in there and try to start fights just so that they could shut the program down. And I was getting so mad. I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, they are actually able, and at the end of it, all the like race stuff didn't even matter anymore. They all had this huge little dinner and they were so happy to be with each other and they were like, oh, this is so fun. And I was like, do you know what this shows? People just want community. They just want community. They just want to be a part of something. They want to be a part of a community. And when you lock people in a room for 23 hours a day, how are they supposed to find community and get better and make better decisions? Don't even get me started. I was watching this, and every single time they said it was a radical program, I lost my shit. Because I was like, how is this radical? What about this is radical? That they get to, like, hang out with people for more than 1 hour of a day. How is that radical? I was getting so mad. Okay, so, damn it, McDonald's, you only have one job, and you know what that is. That was funny. Okay, manifest destiny. Yes, that is what I meant to say. Thank you. Yes, it was manifest destiny. Forgot who said it. ICE is primarily a jobs program for the uneducated, and unemployable, led by white racists. Yes, yes. It was on Waj or so. Yes, it is. It is. And it's they are not getting a lot of training, which I don't think it matters. Again, I think, well, I mean, I do think the training matters. I do think it matters, but I don't think it matters in this context, because ICE was always supposed to be this like paramilitary group that is basically declaring war on their, like, it's basically the government. ICE is essentially, I feel like personally, the government declaring war on its own citizens. That's what I think ICE has always, that's what they've always been to me personally. And so I just don't think, like, I don't think it would have mattered whatever training, whatever stipulations they want to put on it at this point. The people who are joining ICE, it is because they want to terrorize certain communities, and it is because they want to kill protesters, because all of the propaganda and all of the rhetoric coming from the right, from this, like, since 2020 and before that, but specifically since 2020, has been that they want to kill protesters, that they don't like the left protesting and going on the roads or whatever, or clogging up the roads, and so they're like, well, just kill them, who cares? All right. All right. So that was fun. Not really. Okay, so the next thing we're going to watch is we are going to watch MLK's. We're going to watch MLK's thought about the whole bootstrapping thing, and people picking themselves up by their bootstraps. And then we're going to go over some other quotes, and then I am going to end it with Malcolm X quote, because I do really like Malcolm X, and he has a great quote about like white liberals and stuff like that. So, which you probably have already heard, but we're gonna listen to it anyway because that's what I want to do. All right, so this one is the bootstrapping one. So this is one of I hate this. I hate this saying. Everyone's always like, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, and everyone always says that. And the reason I hate it is because it actually was a joke. It was supposed to be like a joke, right? It was just one of those, oh, pick yourself by your bootstraps, like it was like something people said sarcastically, and then the right turned it into like an actual talking point, and here we are today. So I want to watch this.
Emancipation for the Negro was really freedom to hunger. It was freedom to the winds and rains of heaven. It was freedom without food to eat or land to cultivate, and therefore it was freedom and famine at the same time. And when white Americans tell the Negro to lift himself by his own bootstraps, they don't look over the legacy of slavery and segregation. I believe we ought to do all we can and seek to lift ourselves by our own bootstraps, but it's a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And many Negroes, by the thousands and millions, have been left bootless as a result of all of these years of oppression, and as a result of a society that deliberately made his color a stigma and something worthless and degrading.
We were talking about how most...
Sorry. That was one of the videos I was looking at. Okay. So I think that's an important quote because I think it directly, you fall on your ass if you do it. That's true. If you try to literally pull yourself up by your bootstraps. No, I like that quote from him because I think it directly goes against everything that conservatives and like maybe, white moderates or moderates try to make Martin Luther King out to be. Like his niece was saying, oh, he wouldn't want handouts. But as you just heard there, he wouldn't think of it as handouts because he's like, okay, well, if you're not at the same starting point, then how do you tell someone with no boots to pick themselves up by their bootstraps if they don't have boots? If they can't even, there's no way for them to get boots, how are they supposed to pick themselves up by their bootstraps? And this is something that I've tried to explain to people in my life who maybe don't agree with reparations, or maybe don't understand what that would mean, or don't understand the historical context of why reparations would be necessary, or just the historical context of like oppression in this country, where, and I think I've said this before, where like people who most times are in wealthier or white families, they grow up in those families, right? And they get things handed down to them. But if you're a descendant of someone in this country who was a slave, well, they didn't own any property, and so things were not being passed down. They were supposed to own land. They were supposed to get I think it was like, I forgot how many acres, but it was a certain amount of acres, and was it a goat or something like that? But anyway, that's what they were promised, and they did not get that. And so they deserve, so I mean, honestly, people who were descendants of slaves deserve reparations anyway, because they were supposed, 20 acres and a mule, yes, thank you, 20 acres and a mule, because they were promised that and they never got it. And so, number one, that's historical context. But number two, again, like I said, and so when people want to say, oh, everything is fixed now, everything is fixed because we're in 2026 and racism doesn't exist, is not true. Because historically, people who were able to own property, people who were able to have better property value, like when redlining was happening, they are able to pass those things down. But if you weren't allowed to own property, if you were, and this has happened even nowadays, where people of a certain religion or of a certain race, they try to sell a house, and then they try to sell the house, and their offer is lower than if they had like white friends go into their house and try to sell it. There's been like an experiment done like that, and the white couple got more money than the other couple. And so racism still does exist, but the problem is when you look historically at who can own property and who can own these things, or who can have or accumulate this wealth and pass it down, that is where the systematic oppression comes in. That is where the system has been racist, and it has gone against so many different people, and that includes like women and queer people. Like, women weren't able to have their own funds, weren't able to have their own bank accounts, weren't able to have their own credit cards. And so this is like, I feel like it's so important to understand the historical context of all of these situations and where we are now, because conservatives will always bet on you not knowing that. They'll always bet on you not knowing that. So when you say that, no, this system that we are in is racist, this system that we are in is a patriarchy, and they'll laugh at you and be like, oh, social justice warrior, and they'll laugh at you and they'll try to cut you down. But if you understand history, then you understand, or if you understand the historical context, then you understand why people say that, and why the system that we're in does still need to be changed, and still needs to have so much change. Same on eBay, white hand, black hand pick. See, I didn't know that, but that's true. And so things like that still happen to this day. And I know there have been studies on like how people put their names on resumes, or putting pictures on resumes. A lot of people will say, stop putting your pictures on resumes, because people will start to look at that and will start to decide based on that. And so it's like, to say that like racism doesn't exist, or to say that we have eradicated it from our system, or from our government is not true. And of course it's not true now, because we literally have a fascist government right now. Okay, so the last few things I want to do is look at, all right, let me see, is look at some quotes that I thought were interesting, and then, yes, okay. So, The FBI posted this today. Today, the FBI honors the life and work of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and reaffirms our commitment to fairness and equal justice for all. The FBI, Kash Patel's FBI said that today. Okay. And it says and this person said they probably think it's hilarious to post this every year, honestly, because they killed him. All right. The next one is Mark Lamont Hill. So this one I like a lot because it says, today let us remember Martin Luther King Jr. As he was a black radical anti-capitalist. Okay. A black radical anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist, revolutionary Christian who was murdered as an enemy of the state, and anything else is just a lie. Facts. First they criminalize you, then they kill you, then they act like they agreed with you all along. Let's see, what does this one say? This one says, let's see. So I really like this quote. He who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he who helps to perpetrate it. He who accepts evil without protesting against it is really cooperating with it. And I really like this because I feel like this is a great quote for the more like moderate liberals or like white liberals in the, in the country right now, or a lot of people who are just like, or are like the I don't do politics people. I feel like this is a really important quote for them, for those kinds of people, because, conservatives aren't the only people who have whitewashed Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy. White moderates have also done that. Moderates, liberals have also done that. And I think this is one of the more important parts of the civil rights movement and of a lot of the quotes from Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X is it's not just the oppressors. It's not just conservatives. It's not just fascists. We know that what they're doing, they're telling us, like Donald Trump, ICE, they're telling us, they're outwardly being white nationalists. Like they are saying it as loud and as plain as possible right now. But there are also people who are helping with that and are helping to perpetuate that fascism. And it's not by necessarily supporting it, but it's by ignoring it, or not speaking up against it, or trying to do the why can't we all just get along, or both sides. And I would say Anna and Jank have been a part of that. And the reason I'm bringing up Anna is because on Wednesday, I'm going to talk about how apparently she's on like an apology arc and wants to apologize for some of her takes about Trump. So we'll see. I'm going to do a video about that on Wednesday, but I would say it is people like that, and it's a lot of like white women who perpetuate this fascism, who want to act like polite society, right? And want to act like they want to be a part of polite society, and they don't want to make waves, and they don't want or they're okay with queer people, but they're gonna vote for Donald Trump because my taxes. Like, those are the people that are also a problem, and sometimes they're more of a problem than the actual fascists, because they are unwilling to fight back. They're unwilling to see what is right before them. They are willing to have a blind eye to the fascism. They're willing to have a blind eye to what's going on to try to keep whatever peace that they think that there can be. I think she called Anna they just for LOLs. I know I need to catch up. I know Francesca and then the Vanguard talked about it, and I'm gonna watch all of that, and then I'm gonna make a video on Wednesday. Because I'm very interested to see what she thinks, because and I've been wondering how long they were going to try to do this both sides arc, or this like, we can get along with fascists arc, because the way things are going, like, I knew that wasn't going to last for very long. And I knew they were either going to have to go full right wing, or I don't know. I don't apologize or whatever, which is apparently what Anna's doing. But I don't know. Or cheating Bernie twice, yes, and not fighting for the 2000s elections. No, yes, and that's what, and yeah, you're right. I would say Democrats, it's why I have such frustration with Democrats, and I don't, and a lot of the times I don't like Democrats, is because they also are a part of this. They are aiding and abetting fascism every single day. Cory Booker over here saying, oh, well, we can have a QR code. What does that do? They can still kill you. They're killing people left and right. They're shooting people left and right. They tear gassed a baby. They tear gassed a baby the other day. Like, what is a QR code gonna do for that baby? Like, what do you mean we can have a QR code? Yeah, no, great. So what? Like, the fascist militia is still out there killing people and tear gassing babies. They can have a QR code, but what is that going to do? And so, or all of the Democrats were like, well, I don't think we should abolish ICE. We should regulate them, but I don't think we should abolish them. No, we should abolish them. Why are we sitting here mincing words right now? Like, they are out here terrorizing people. They're out here tear gassing babies, and you're like, oh well, you know, maybe we can just find some regulations. It's stupid and it's ridiculous, and it is aiding and abetting fascism. That's exactly what it is. Which again is something that Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X talked about. They talked about people like the Democrats and how people like that were even more disappointing in their eyes, because you knew the fascists were coming out for you. They were telling you they were coming for you. But the white liberals, the white moderates, the Democrats in this instance, say that they want to help you, but don't actually want to, or aren't going to make any tangible effort to do so. Yeah. The only thing these morons should be saying to themselves is that we're effing shit. He got a QR code for his donors. Yeah. 100% for donors. Yeah, it's... God, it's so annoying. It's so annoying. Okay, this last one is actually just The Onion. So it says, MLK family urges nation to spend anniversary of his death twisting his words to fit own political agenda. I really like that because it's so true. It happens every year, and it's very frustrating on so many different levels. Okay, so let's see. Last thing, we are going to watch this. So, speaking of white liberals, we're gonna watch Malcolm X's quote about white liberals, because I really like this quote and I thought it was fitting for the moment that we are currently in.
And being a friend, I think, are two different things. I think there are many whites who act friendly toward Negroes. A fox acts friendly toward the lamb. And usually the fox is the one who ends up with the lamb chopped on his plate. The wolf doesn't act friendly, and therefore the wolf has more difficulty in getting the lamb chopped in his plate.
I'd like to point out, though, that...
I say that because it is usually if you study the structure of the Negro community, economically, politically, civically, psychologically, and otherwise, it's controlled by the white liberal, who usually poses as the friend of the Negro, who actually differs from the white conservative in the same way that the fox differs from the wolf. Their appetite is the same. Their motives are the same. It's only their mannerisms and methods that differ.
Yep. Yeah, so I thought that was a good place to end it, because
we end today's show with Malcolm X in his own words, speaking in 1964.
Anyway, I haven't come live in a while, can you tell? Anyway, but no, this was really fun. I'm happy to go live again. So I'm going to be going live next Monday. But anyway, like I said, I wanted to end on that because, hello, hello, Creflo, hello. My voice show. Yeah, because it was, yeah, I know. It was democracy now. I I have like a playlist of videos. We didn't watch all of them, but I had a playlist of videos and it just went to the next one. And I was like, oh, anyway. Anyway. Yes, thank you for coming to my stream. I am excited. Streaming is so fun and I haven't done it in a while. And so I'm happy to be back. It's very exciting and I love being with you all. And it was fun. I thought it would be fun to do like an MLK Day one just because, like, again, I I got in an argument over the holidays with my parents about MLK because they were trying to be like, they were trying to be like, oh, like, everyone loved him back then and he wasn't a radical and he wasn't a socialist. And I was like, you are wrong. And they were like, you weren't alive back then, so how do you know? And I'm like, I know because I studied, because I've actually, like, I think I asked my mom, I said, have you listened to any of his other speeches other than the I've Had a Dream speech? Any other speech? Have you listened to anything else? And I don't think she had, and that's why I was like, see, like, you can't say he's not a socialist, he's not a radical if you don't know what he stood for. Like, you know one line of one speech. Like, you gotta learn more about him. Did you cover Anna Kasparian saying she was wrong about Trump not being a fascist? I'm gonna cover that on Wednesday. So I'm gonna do a video on Wednesday, and that's what the video is gonna be about. I am very interested. I am very excited to talk about that because I have so many feelings, and I think it's interesting that she's coming out now saying that, because a lot of liberals and people on the online left have been praising her for a very long time now, and I've always been like, listen, I like her takes on Palestine, but everything else, I think she's kind of shitty. And so I've kind of stayed away from talking about her because so many people are just now finding out who she is, and they're like, oh, she's great. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not a fan. Because I knew that she was doing this both sides, like, centrist bullshit. And now she's like, oh, I'm sorry, he is a fascist, which I don't know. I'm going to talk about that on Wednesday. I don't know how I feel about that because I feel like you just, what do you actually believe? Do you have any morals? Do you have any, what does she actually believe? Does she have any morals? Does she have any actual values? Or is she just going where the wind blows because she wants notoriety? I think it's the latter, and I've always thought it was the latter, and I don't trust her, and I don't, yeah, but we'll talk about that. But I'll have a video out on Wednesday about that. Thank you. Yes, I am going to talk about that on Wednesday. I'm also going to do a members video this week. I've been slacking for my members, so I'm going to do a members video this week. And yeah, so that's that. Thank you so much for coming today. Great, like Newsom. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like Gavin Newsom either. And I feel like they are two sides of the same coin. Like, they just, like, they're willing to, because Newsom did that too. He just did a podcast. He just did a podcast with Ben Shapiro. Like, is he trying to run for president or not? I'm not really understanding. But he just did a podcast with Ben Shapiro and, like, conceded to Ben Shapiro. And so this is what I'm saying. Like, Gavin Newsom, Anna Kasparian, I can't stand people like that because you don't actually believe in anything. You just want notoriety and you don't have any held beliefs. You just want notoriety. You just want people to be like, oh yeah, sure. And you know, I don't respect that. I don't respect it, and I think it's honestly really messed up. And people's lives are on the lines, and people's lives were on the lines, and have been this whole entire time when you were whitewashing who Trump was and what Trump was going to do. even though you knew he was going to do this. You knew, like, Anna Kasparian knew this is what he was going to do. Anna Kasparian knew it was going to get this fascist, whatever. She knew because she covered it and because she talked about it and because she predicted it years beforehand. And then when the time came and she thought, oh no, I'm going to be out of relevance, I'm not going to be relevant anymore, she said, well, maybe he's not a fascist, maybe it won't be that bad, maybe it's okay. And now that people are dying, she's like, oh, well, no, never mind. He is a fascist. Okay, sure. Yeah, okay. I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me that she's all of a sudden now like, I changed my mind. But whatever. I guess we need to give people space to change their minds and change their opinions. Although I don't think that's what she's doing. I think she's just doing it because it's not publicly popular to it's not like what ICE is doing. What ICE is fascist, and most people see that and accept that and understand that now, and so to say something different is just not popular, and so that's why she's changing her mind. I don't think she's actually anyway, I'll talk about it on Wednesday. I'm gonna do a video on Wednesday, but all that to say, I will do a video about it on Wednesday, and I just don't trust her, but we'll talk about it. She does not deserve to be listened to if she didn't understand Project 2025. Exactly. Like, I can't stand her. I hate her so much, because how am I supposed to respect you? Like, how am I so, like, oh God, and every person on the internet who has like praised her for like, because they just now discovered her on like Piers Morgan or whatever, is just so frustrating, because I'm like, you don't, like, if you were to watch her actual coverage, if you were to watch her on like Megyn Kelly, you'd be like, who is this? What is she saying? Like, what is happening right now? I can't stand Anna Kasparian, and I think this is all for notoriety, this is all for money, this is all for prominence, and I don't think she actually gives a shit. I don't think she gives a shit about the truth. I don't think she gives a shit about people. I think this is all a selfish endeavor for her. And so, you know what? That's who she is. That's how she's going to be remembered. So, yeah. Anyway, I have lots of feelings about Anna Kasparian, and I used to really like her, and I think that's why I hate her so much now. But yeah, that was the stream today. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm gonna go live next Monday as well, so I'm gonna start doing Mondays because that I think will be better for me. And then I'll do videos on Wednesday. And so this Wednesday I'm going to do a video on Anna Kasparian. So you've got a little preview of that video. You got a little preview of how heated I'm going to be in that video. But yeah, that was the stream today. Thank you so much for coming. I love you all very, very much. Thank you to everyone who has supported me and been here. I'm very excited for this year. For YouTube, not really. I always feel weird. I'm like, I'm excited for this year because I feel like, personally I'm doing a lot better, but then like the world-wise keeps getting worse, and so it's like this weird dichotomy of like like mentally I'm kind of doing better, but then also like just worldwide things are horrible. But we're gonna get through it together. That's gonna be the positive outlook I'm gonna put on this. But anyway, I've rambled enough. Meanwhile, Sneeko, Andrew Tate, and Nick Fuentes are going to Miami nightclubs. Oh, I saw that. I saw that. I need to look more into that, but I did see that. Oh God, if I saw one of them out in public, I don't know what I would do. It would probably not be very nice. It's good that I don't encounter these people in real life, because I don't think I could shut my mouth. Like, I think I would have to say something. That's why I was watching that prison thing, the Prison Unlocked, on Netflix, and I was like, man, I would be the one getting in trouble, because if someone were, like, if a guard was trying to, like, talk to me like I was, if was trying to talk down to me, I would say F you too. I'd be like, F you, why are you coming in here acting like I'm not a human being? Like, I would do that too. Like, I can't shut my mouth. Like, I would also get mad. So it's probably, yeah, anyway, all that to say, I did see that news. I'm still rambling. Okay. Anyway, yes, I will see you in the next live. Oh, if you have any topics or anything that you want to talk about in the next live, I know there's so much going on, and I have not scratched the surface of, like, most things that are happening right now. Let me know. I'm definitely going to talk about Anna. And then, yeah, next Monday, let me know if there's anything you all want me to talk about. And yeah, I am gonna sign off. It's gonna say it. Here we go. I knew it was gonna do that. Okay. Thank you to my members. I need to add Hey Skip J to this one. I updated the ones on my videos, but I need to update my live. So thank you to my members, Troy Roberto, Creflo, and Hey Skip J. I'm gonna add you to my live one. Yes, good night. I love you all very much. Thank you so much for being here. This was so fun, and I'm so excited. I'm going to try to do more lives this year. That's another thing that I'm trying to do, because they're just a lot of fun, and I love hanging out with you all. But yes, I will see you on Wednesday. I'm going to post that video on Wednesday, and yeah, I'll see you then. Bye.